Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever community organization spotlight panel, where we spotlight organizations in the game development community that are actively working to make a difference in the game industry. Welcome, Dana. I'm happy to be speaking with you again. I have a couple of questions
Right.
that I'll be asking you so that our viewers who are a mix of students, recent graduates, and game developers in general who are interested in the game industry can know more about you and what you do. So I'll be asking my first question, and that is, who are you? Where do you work? And what do you do?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. So, yeah, my name's Dana Steinhoff. I have a couple different jobs. For the past 4 years, I've been the executive director. So, basically, the head boss of Rad Magpie, the shirt that I'm wearing right here. So, Rad Magpie was founded 6 years ago to support marginalized, underrepresented video game developers as they enter the video game industry, basically trying to do our part to dismantle patriarchal white supremacy in the video game industry, make it a healthier, safer, lovelier place for everyone. That's been one of my jobs for the past 4 years. I'm also a professor of video game production at Champlin College's game studio.
Yeah, I saw that a while ago. Like, I wanted to congratulate you on that
Thank
too.
you.
I noticed you went to a full-time position now at Champlain. So
Yes, I did.
congratulations.
Thanks for noticing. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been teaching there part-time for like 2 years, and now I'm going to be doing like game production like all the time.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
So, on to my next question. What inspired you to be part of the game industry? What's kept you going and made you want to stay in the industry?
Oh, that's a really great question. I'm going to back up a little bit. Um, when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City, and I had always really been into theater, actually. So I created a theater company with my friends in Brooklyn. So we created like these like really crazy immersive theater pieces, like these like really big production with like 50 people involved, and they were super weird and creative. I did that until I was 28 years old, but I wasn't making any money at all. And so I decided when I was 28 that I needed to do something different. And I had like this light bulb moment when I was playing Telltale's Walking Dead, because I really love narrative driven video games. I was watching the credits and I was like, oh my God, people do this for a living. Like, I could do this for a living. And that completely changed my career path because for me, theater, video games, film, they're very similar in my mind because they're all like collaborative project based project
Right.
work. And so I was like, it's pretty similar. So I shifted gears and decided to join the industry there. Um, and why do I stay involved with the industry? I think for the same reason, like I just love the immersive, like how immersive a video game can be and how it can really activate your imagination in the way that I think nothing else can to that extent. And I love supporting teams to make that because it's like such a collaborative project by necessity, unless you're like one person who decides to make a whole game by yourself and then God bless you, but I would never do that. Yeah, so that's why I stay.
You mentioned collaborative teamwork, and that was like one of the skills. Like, I definitely got a lot of experience with Rat Magpie and Rat City, but we'll get we'll get
Sorry.
more into that. But thank you. Now to the next question. From being a student to now a full-time instructor at to now being a full-time instructor at Champlain College, how has your experience at Champlain helped shape you to be the person that you are today?
Yeah, okay. So my time at Champlain. So I went as a master's student because I already had my undergrad. And I was getting a master's in it's called emerging media. So it's all about like experimental media, whatever that may be, augmented reality, virtual reality, um, everything, user interface design, user experience design. My favorite part about that experience was like getting in the habit of making things really quickly and then walking away from them. Like, I feel like for a long time, my creative process required, I felt really precious about it. Like, I almost got scared to create things or to write or to do whatever because I was like so critical of how it would turn out and I wanted it to be perfect. But when I went to grad school, I got trained to do like, they were like, okay, here's your assignment. You have to make a video game and it's due in 2 weeks, or you have to make a movie and it's due in 2 weeks. You have to design an app, it's due in 2 weeks. And then we would never look at them again. Like, we would just do it and then move on. And so it really taught me to practice, to just get my creativity going and just creating, because perfection is the enemy of the good. And so doing that, and I met some really incredible people going to Champlain, including my friend who was the one who started Rad Magpie. So, I mean, full disclosure, I went through 4 years of school. I wanted to be a narrative designer. I graduated. I found out that there are jobs for writers, definitely, but there are like 5 jobs for narrative designers in the world. Maybe there's a few more now. And if anyone wants more details on that, I'm happy to expound on that. But what I found was very few jobs for that. And in addition to, alongside learning about that, I was hearing some really negative stuff about what it was like to work in the industry. And it kind of was enough to make me step back and have pause. And then that's when I rolled into Rad Magpie. But because I stayed in Vermont and I did the work of Rad Magpie here, and I kept those connections that I had made at Champlain, it became really natural for me to just keep working there. When I went to grad school, I never in a million years thought I was going to become a professor, but I love it. So.
Right. No, that's definitely amazing to hear. The next question I want to ask you, from your multiple years of experience as a director, how important would you say is, the skills like project management, collaboration, and communication? When working in a team, how important is it when developing a project?
Oh my God, it's literally everything. I wish I had like a space to do a visual. Like, what I usually show is that there's like a few different ways that a team works out. But when it works really well, we are so much better than the sum of our parts. It's not like, okay, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. We have 4 people, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. Okay, we get a 4. It's like somehow if you do it right, it's like this magical alchemy where like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals like 25. Because if we can act like a single organism that has all these different amazing skills, then we can do really incredible things. However, it really doesn't just happen. It requires really brave and honest communication, which I think was one of the classes I gave when you were with us, Martin. The brave and honest communication and understanding that we all, as much as we want to act like a single organism, we all have our own brains. And it is amazing how we can all be looking at the same thing and seeing something different, like our perspectives are different. So without even realizing it, we might have assumptions that we're all thinking the same thought or we're all on the same page, when in reality, we're not seeing the same thing at all. And so it requires practicing, doing a lot of talking, like a lot of communication, a lot of like, okay, so we are building this, and this, and this for this reason. It's due on this date. It's going to be put on this repo or this Google Drive, and I will message everyone when I'm done. Like, it usually requires being sort of over communicative at the beginning, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And then the longer you work together, you don't need it as much. And then the last thing I'll say about that for now is that is the honest communication part, because I see a lot of teams go south when resentment builds between team members because they haven't communicated enough to have real expectations with each other. So their expectations are misaligned. So she thinks that he's going to do this work. He thinks he's going to do this much work. And then the weeks go by and he's doing less than she thinks he's supposed to. And instead of speaking up and saying anything, she's too shy and she doesn't feel like, rocking the boat or saying something that's going to like feel rude or be critical or pushy or something. And then she just gets kind of madder and madder each week as she's just kind of thinking about how this person is not meeting her expectations. So yeah, it's really important that you talk a lot and that you're honest with your teammates whenever you feel like you're getting frustrated.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with everything you said. Communication was definitely a skill that I had already like picked up from university, but Rad Magpie, Rad Studio specifically, they helped me enhance it and basically get it to the way where it can be utilized in an actual studio. Because the way
Awesome.
you work from university to like an actual studio, I feel like they're very different. And so Rad Magpie definitely helped me prepare for that. So
Oh, awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. That's what I want.
yeah.
Mhm.
The next question, I want to talk more about the organization itself. And my first question to that is, can you tell us about the history of Rad Magpie,
Yeah.
how and when it started, and where the organization is now?
Yeah, absolutely. So our organization was founded, I'm really, really bad at dates, like 5 years ago. And it was founded very specifically because our founder and my friend Kel Bacchus is a professor at Champlin College. And what they noticed was that a lot of the students of color or the LGBTQ students or basically the non-cis male students, because Champlain is not, I'm assuming like other game programs, but I honestly don't know. It's not balanced in terms of gender, race, anything like that. So Cal noticed that all the students who were not the cis het white male, a lot of them were seeming to have a more difficult time and really seeking out more support from more people like them. And so Cal started the organization specifically to support those students, like in a very small way, just like, let's just support those people. And so we started off but basically we gave them a space to develop their own video games over the summer because, I know there's a lot of game dev students here, and I'm sure, you work really hard all year, but then maybe at the end of the year, you're like, oh, this one game that we worked a semester on or a year on is so cool. I want to keep working on it. I want to make it better. And so Kel's idea was, well, we can offer them studio space over the summer so that way they can keep working and we can give them mentorship and support, like specifically for underrepresented students. So we started with that, but then we found a donor who really believed in us and they gave us money. And so we're like, okay, we have money. Now what are we going to do? And so then we started thinking of all these crazy ideas and we started like developing all this stuff. We would host like game jams. We were thinking about hosting a summer camp for kids. We were kind of doing a little bit of everything. But one thing that we stuck with was this initial idea that game development students, specifically underrepresented ones, could have a space to develop their games over the summer. And so that we called Rad Studio, and we decided that every year we would offer that. And every year it started getting bigger and bigger. And we started inviting more colleges to come. And then we decided, instead of just having like, you can come and use a studio and we'll mentor you, let's make it a little more structured. Like, let's set up some milestones. Let's teach classes and have workshops and everything like that. So we ended up doing 4 years in total of Rad Studio every summer. We even did it over the pandemic. We like shifted gears really fast and we offered it remote, which ended up being a blessing because then we could get students from all over the country to join in.
Yeah.
Yeah, including you, Martin.
Yeah, from University of Baltimore.
Yeah. And it's even some Canadians too. So
Yeah.
international.
Yeah, like I remember my teammate Brad. He lived in Canada and was also part
Hmm.
of Rad Studio. Most of the like my teammates were also like from Champlain as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, because we really have our fingers over here because we all came out of Champlain.
Mm,
So we did that, but every single year, so we're a nonprofit, like we have a mission. We want to make the industry better. We want to support underrepresented devs. And so we have this mission within our organization. Every single year, we take a really good hard look of like, what are we doing? Is it actually supporting people in the best way possible? Are we actually making the biggest impact we possibly can? Does it make sense what we're doing, or do we need to shift gears? And we do that every year, and every year we end up kind of like shifting gears a little bit. And this past year we made like a big shift. Like we decided as of last year that instead of offering Rad Studio and offering all kinds of programs, that we're actually shifting to a volunteer and board-led organization instead of um, instead of a year-round, fully staffed nonprofit. And we're focusing instead now on, there's a lot of other really cool organizations that are doing the work just to make the industry better and to diversify it and support underrepresented devs, but we haven't been working with them enough. So we're like, you know what, instead of like doing our own thing, let's put all of our energy into getting all these people together and talking. So right now we're actually focusing on kind of like what y'all did, focusing on getting a conference together about how to like, what is ethics in the game industry? How do you make a more ethical video game industry? Like we're talking right now with like the GDC and the advocacy track. We're trying to like figure that maybe over there. Like we might, I think we're gonna like maybe glom on to another conference for now. So we're talking with some different conferences. Yeah, so that's our new direction, is we're like, let's get people talking and making some policy changes.
yeah, no, that sounds amazing, and I hope it all of it like ends very well.
Thanks.
Um, I want to ask about Rad Magpie's mission. How do
Mhm.
you feel it's impacted and currently making a difference in the industry?
Oh, that's a really good question. The way that we've been trying to make an impact, and which I'm also trying to make an impact in my work at directly at the college, is twofold. I want to help these underrepresented folks, the folks that when they walk into a game studio, they might not see a lot of people like them, right? They might not see themselves really reflected in the people that they work with. I specifically want to help those people be confident and understand what they need to do when they get there. So I want them to understand what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. And I want them to know that they're the shit, basically, and that they deserve to be there and they deserve to be happy and promoted and have the best life. So that's like part one, is like, for those underrepresented people, we want to support them, Rad Magpie and me. The other part is for people who do see themselves represented in the industry. So I'm thinking basically cisgendered white men. Like it's the kind of industry that in most places you'll walk in and you'll see people that look like you all over the place, right? For those people, we want to make them aware about what needs to change and really make a case for it, because a lot of times people don't even necessarily realize, if they're not being directly affected. A lot of times people don't realize until they're being told like, yo, this sucks for me. So we want to let them know that it sucks, and we want to encourage them and give them the tools to become allies and become the people, like real ones, that can support to make and push to make the industry better. So that's like our approach. And so it's hard because I don't have like a statistics or anything of what's changed, but I believe we have succeeded in sending out a number of people into the industry that are going to make the industry better.
Yeah, no,
Little soldiers.
I definitely believe that you'll end up doing that. I remember when I first found out about Rad Magpie, there was I believe from the IGDA, like the 2019 survey. I forgot what the statistics were, but they drew me in because Rad Magpie was focusing on changing what the stats that the IGDA found. So
Yeah.
it just it's for the better. And like one of the things that I hope that in the future we'll have a change is really on the like the higher ups, like the leaders of organizations, companies, studios, whatever, to not just be like cisgender white men, for it
Mm-hmm.
to be filled with BIPOC, LGBT community, I mean the LGBT community as well. And it's just there needs to be a change. I feel like it should start at the top as well, and then it'll definitely have an impact going all the way down to the developers that work for the company. But yeah, thank you for the response. The next question I wanted to ask is, what kind of opportunities are you currently offering to students?
Oh boy, I'm afraid, honestly, through Rad Magpie, you know what? No, back up. I'm going to subtract that because I
Mm,
was going to say I'm afraid that we're not offering the same opportunities we have in the past. In the
mhm.
past, we had Red Studio. We hired for we've developed a few video games. We've developed a few apps. Also, that was another thing that we did. We're not doing that. We're kind of like trimming the stuff that doesn't feel too effective right now and really focusing on this conference and doing that. So I'd say if you're interested in this cause, you can start by following us on social media because we post a lot and we keep people updated. And once we do kind of start moving forward with this conference, there may be some opportunities to get involved in helping us out, at least like grow the community. So not the
Yeah.
same as before, more like volunteer advocacy work, but
Mhm.
it'll be cool.
I do want to touch base a little bit about like Rat Studio. It's just
Yeah.
one question, and I also kind of like want to talk about like a little bit about like my experience. I was part of the 2021 cohort. I applied as a recent graduate, and really I want to say that it was a really great experience for me. I got to work with, an incredible team of other developers, and we had to develop a project for a portfolio in the span of 11 weeks, I believe. And, this was an opportunity that I would really recommend to anybody. So, in the future, to anybody that, if Red Magpie, in the future when they do it again, I would definitely recommend it to anybody out there who would be interested. But to that, I really
Right.
want to ask it's what it's composed of and like what is the overall goal of the program?
Sure. So it basically, I'm trying to think the overall goal. Well, we would have, I think we had 15 people in our 2020 cohort, and we doubled to 30 people in 2021. And the idea was that it would be 11 weeks where we put students on teams and they'd make a video game together. And we hired all these different mentors to check in. So we like once a week, you would check in with like a sound mentor and a programming mentor and art and blah, 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 and production. So we would really kind of support you and also give like a lot of criticism and make sure that you're like not over scoping and stuff like that, because we really wanted everyone to succeed and have a cool game at the end of the summer. And then in addition to that, we would have these we'd have these lectures and workshops because we really wanted to engage people on these issues of ethics and diversity and then we would also just like use the opportunity to bring in different people to give lectures and like on how to be a great producer or how to add polish to your game, whatever it was. But yeah, it was we wanted to what I was talking about before about making allies and growing confidence, like we wanted hands-on time with really cool students over the summer and the ability to support them in reaching those development goals that we set for them. That was the big thing. But yeah, fortunately, we're not doing that this year. Full disclosure, that's what I'm going to do for a living now, year round at Champlain. As a production professor, I just oversee, in each class, I oversee about 15 students as they develop video games together. And I'll end up teaching, 60 students a semester that way. So
Yeah, I remember scope being something that pretty much every meeting that we had with like our team coach Megan McAvoy. Yeah, she was they were a really great a great team coach for everybody on the team. And they really kept us in check every week. They were always constantly reminding us of scope, to be careful, to not uh to like, you can come up with ideas, but like also pay attention to your team, pay attention to like to the goal, and just keep in mind to like not crunch, you don't want to like overwork yourself. And that was like a constant reminder. But yeah, thank
I
you.
want to say also, like, when you're scoping something, like when you're deciding, on the size of your game or what you're going to include, it's not just what is my dream game that I want to make. It's like, you have 12 weeks. Yeah. It's the summertime. How much do you really want to be working? If you only want to work 10 hours a week, that's like really okay. Just, your dream game is going to look like this as opposed to like this. So like, it's really reminding people to take care of the human element, because you are not just a brain and hands to make something. Like, you are a whole human person who deserves to have a rich and happy life. So you need to take that into account when you're making your plans.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Mhm.
Lastly, I want to ask questions that are a little bit more general, and they're like more focused on the industry, and then also some about advice. And the first question is, what are your hopes for the industry? What do you predict will happen within the next 5 to 10 years?
Hmm. Well, I think I'm optimistic that it's going to be heading in the direction that we're hoping for in terms of ethics, because it feels to me that it just kind of sprung up, and it didn't really spring up with enough intentionality. It reminds me of what I literally just said, where I said, like, when you're making a thing, it's not just about the thing, it's about the people. Like, it's your time, it's your life. Like, what do you want your life to be like? But I think that when video games were first coming up, they did not think about the people. They just thought about the thing they were making. They didn't think about the people who were being included or excluded and what their lives would be like, in terms of crunch, getting fired, like after you like just joined the team, like all this really crappy, all the bad stuff that we hear about around being in the industry. And so now it's like, it's a little wild, because it's like, it would have been easier to build an industry with intention from the beginning, but that's not what happened. It turned into a gigantic thing. And now we're trying to like reverse engineer ethics into it. But there are a lot of people working on it. And I think that, like, you all, like us, the new generations that are coming in, I'm hopeful that we're going in with a different perspective, just from how different we've been raised, even from the people before us. So that's, I guess, but other than that, I don't really know. Like, I'm hopeful, but I don't know. Like, and the idea of getting new people on the top, that I think what we need to do is we need to make some of our own game studios and then get them really big so we can get up there.
Yeah, I think I've seen that happen. Like I was able to find like a couple studios, like they start like from the very beginning, like at the top. The it's no longer like cisgender white men, like we're the leaders of
Mm.
these new studios, and like it's really good to see that. Like I'm able to find these studios like on Twitter, and I like that they're this is like this change of the new generation. Like it's not just going from studio, but it's also like new organizations being created with that goal in mind to spread that change and to actually like see it impact the industry, so that like later down in the years, like this change stays persistent, and then it becomes like in a way permanent. But it's gonna take time, but I definitely do see it happening within like the next couple of years. Maybe not the next 5 to 10 years, but I feel like it's definitely heading there.
Yeah. Just, I mean, and frankly, just like in all industries,
Mm,
like we see it in TV and film.
yeah.
Like if you just think about the landscape of who is making TV and film and who is represented in TV and film from 10 years ago, or like I'm 35, I was born in the 80s. Like the movies coming out in the 90s were bad, like real bad for anyone who wasn't like a burly Western kind of white guy. Like the representation was horrible. So it's kind of all these industries are like, hey, wait a minute, we don't like this, let us in. Like it's all kind of moving, but they're huge industries, so it's like
Yeah.
bit by bit.
I want to ask what general advice do you have that you want to share with students that are interested in working in the games industry?
So the best piece of advice I got when I was in grad school, because when I was in grad school, I wanted to be a AAA narrative director. So I wanted to be the one direct, like my favorite, some of my favorite games were like Uncharted, especially Uncharted 4, Last of Us, like like I was like, I want to be that person that like figures out that leads these huge, so I had these big ambitions. And then I started, this is going to sound like shade, to each his or her own, but like I started meeting people that had that position, and I noticed like they seemed really happy with what they were doing, but they were always moving city to city. They didn't like have family, like they didn't have like kids or whatever. And like for me, it just like again, that could be like awesome in somebody's dream. But for me, seeing that, I was like, this is not what I want forever. I want to like buy a house and like live there and whatever. And so I realized then and there, like, this might not be for me actually. And so the best advice that somebody gave me was like, don't think about, like, think about the job you want to do, but most importantly, really think about the kind of life that you want to have. Like, what's your day feel like? Who are the people you're surrounded with? Where are you living? Are you living in a city? Are you living out in the country? Are you moving to new places? Because maybe that'd be really exciting. Are you working like long hours because you're really passionate, or do you have hobbies? Whatever it is, like really think about what you want your life to be like, what you want your job to feel like, and use that as a very important lens when you're taking a look at your job opportunities. So it's not just like, what are my opportunities for promotion, whatever. It's like really try to imagine how your life is going to feel and use that to guide you. And then the second big thing is connected to that. It's everybody here is like very worthy of having a happy life and a good job that treats you well. If a job doesn't treat you well, I can't like obviously teach you all about the signs to look for right now, but I want you to make yourself aware of like what is acceptable and unacceptable in a workspace, because all of you deserve to be in a job that makes you feel good, like you're thriving. And I don't want anyone to settle for anything less than that. So don't settle for anything less than that. But
Yeah.
they are out there. Those jobs are definitely out there. Don't settle for less than that. You don't need to. Like, keep looking. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. No, thank you. No, this is definitely like very, very important advice that I think every student or just really any developer that wants to get into the industry should definitely consider. Um, the next question is any news to keep an eye out for what might be coming soon with Rad Magpie.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear
Yeah,
it.
any news to keep an eye out for what might be coming
Oh,
soon.
well, news about that conference. That I'm still writing the blog post announcing it. So you guys heard it here first. You really did. We haven't posted that anywhere.
How
Yeah.
then the last question then, and then we can move on to audience questions is if people want to support Rat Magpie, where should they head to? Where can they find out more information?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, follow us on social media. I know that's backwards, but it's rad, like cool, magpie, the bird. It's written somewhere. But social
Yeah.
media, and then we have like a mailing list that goes out once a month too, that tells you everything. But not only, well, I didn't even mention this, but not only is that updating you with what we're doing, but we're working really hard to create accessible resources that teach things like what is a healthy job environment, like how do I say no to a boss who's being too pushy, like whatever. We're like creating a lot of those resources like as Instagram posts and Facebook posts and blogs. So follow us, and yeah, and then you can soak up all the good information that way, and you'll also be the first to hear about all of our new stuff coming up.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Jason, just checking in with you. Do we have questions in the Discord or Twitch?
That's fine. It's like it's 8 o'clock here for me, and I taught at a summer camp for high schoolers. I've been teaching video games to high schoolers all week. So I feel my brain like going like this a little bit, but that's
Well,
okay.
then I do want to say something. It's like with the community organization panel, it's something new that we're trying this year. I did have a message. I also like have a message for like the next organization, but for Rag Magpie specifically, like I wrote it down just to make sure that I don't forget. Um, but I just wanted to say like one final thing. The executive team at Rad Magpie, the investors, the volunteers, and just anyone who's involved in keeping the organization going are very committed to their mission. And it shows through their dedication and passion to make a difference in the industry. It's amazing to see through the programs, opportunities, and collaborations they provided throughout the years to people that are students, recent graduates, or just game developers that are interested in obtaining a career in the industry. Red Magpie is definitely an organization that I believe should support. So thank you.
That's so sweet. Thank you, Martin. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I think this marks the end of this panel. So thank you very much, Dana, for stopping by. And Jason, I think we're good.